Hi guys, we are starting part 4. This is all about storytelling. So let's just get started. I'm going to minimize myself so we can focus on the slides. All right, so we're going to talk about digital storytelling for fashion marketing on social media. This is probably one of the most important parts of social media marketing. It's creating an effective story. And in this chapter, I will tell you a little bit about methods to use, some tips on creating the most effective storytelling and what your story should focus on, and so on. The principal idea behind good storytelling is to satisfy the curiosity of the brand's target audience. And you are also trying to maintain their interest throughout the story. And you want to forge a personal connection. So emotional connection is very important. Storytelling offers a unique way to the brand to connect with their audience at a deeper level. You have to capture the audience's attention long enough to pique their interest in connecting with the brand's story. And some brands focus on their CRM data. CRM means customer relationship management data, to better connect with their customers who are already existing customers. But you are also trying to reach potential customers. Also, through storytelling, you are communicating the brand's identity to the customer or your target audience. So the goal is to create a story which is memorable, and it also creates an idea of the brand's identity in the minds of consumers. And of course, you do that through social media platforms. The value of the story is how much you're influencing the reader and how well it will be remembered. So influence and being memorable, those are the two measurable criteria. And sometimes you need to have some suspense, curiosity, and intrigue that you create with your story. So when you're creating a story, you always begin with a plan. You have to have a clear plan in place. You have to determine what kind of message you're trying to convey to your audience and what platforms you will be using. And second step is using high quality images and videos, compelling visuals to capture their attention and to create an immersive experience. Step 3 is create a narrative arc. So you want to kind of go with the traditional story method. You want to engage with a hook, build some tension, and then end with a conclusion. Step 4 is call to action. So in your story, you need to have some kind of call to action, either direct your customers to the brand's website to purchase the product if you're making the story about a product, or if you're trying to promote the product, then you want to have some kind of call to action. You can either direct the customer to buy the product, or you can maybe encourage them to share the story or spread the message, or if it is a campaign, maybe you're trying to spread the word about it. So those are some of the important steps in digital storytelling. The two questions you need to answer is, what is the emotional connection to the audience? And what do you gain from the story? Is it entertainment? Is it creating believability? Or is it some kind of experience? To create an emotional connection, first, you have to decide who the narrator of the story is going to be. Who's telling the story? From what point of view are you telling the story? Is it from the consumer point of view, or from the brand point of view, or from a third party? Also, you want to humanize the brand through your story. Is there a likable character the audience wants to engage with? Is there a relatable connection to bond some kind of relationship? So you have to be authentic, you have to be unique, and you have to humanize the brand. And you need to decide the medium of distribution. So for that, to decide the right platform, you need to understand who your target audience is and which mediums they usually utilize. And maybe you want to use multiple platforms. Maybe you want to post your stories multi times a day in different platforms. So you need to know the expectations of your audience. Again, I'm going to summarize the steps to create the perfect story in a different way. So first, start with the idea and start with a plan. 2, identify everything needed to turn that idea into a story. 3, gather facts. And 4, use the 5 W's. So 5 W's are who, what, where, when, and why. Who, this is either the subject of your story or from the marketing point of view or your target audience. What, this can be what the product is, or it can be what message you're trying to convey. Where, is there a place where this product is mostly used, or could be paired to create a visual impact on your audience. It could be snow-capped mountains, sandy beaches, depending on what product you are trying to promote. When, this is usually now, but you look at the question of when as the action you want your audience to take. For example, buying a product. When should they buy the product? And why? This is, all successful marketing campaigns provide a reason for the customer to want the product or service, whatever you're selling. Why should anybody care about what you're trying to sell or what message you're trying to convey? So this is a very, very important one. Sometimes, depending on what product you are selling, sometimes you also may need to add the how. This is especially important if you have a marketing campaign that's happening around an event. How can also take a creative side, such as telling the story of a product and how it is made. It can also be your plan of action of how you're going to tell your story or your video, like interviews, dialogue, photos, and so on. Another tip I'm going to give you is KISS, K-I-S-S. Sometimes people define this as keep it simple, stupid. And the nicer way is keep it super simple. The simpler stories, the simpler messages are usually the most effective. So don't forget about KISS. Keep it super simple. These are some key elements of a compelling story. Obviously, authenticity is very important. You can collaborate with influencers, and your narrative should be compelling. You can do a lot of different kinds of stories. You can do behind the scenes stories. You can do a style inspiration. You can tell the story of your brand's history. You can tell a story about new campaigns or new collections and so on. So there are a lot of different stories that you can create. So define your brand's voice, create a distinct voice that separates you from others, use high quality visuals, create a call to action. So you're driving your customers to interact either by buying the product or by sharing your story and so on. And 4, just be creative. The storytelling marketing funnel contains awareness, interest, desire, and action. We call them IDA. So awareness is your story spread through the digital landscape and people start to know about your campaign or your products. Interest is the social confirmation of your story through engagement of customers. Desire, this is, if you guys remember FOMO, that means fear of missing out. So you're creating that desire to have the ownership first for the product. And action is a call to action. So if we look at that marketing funnel in a different way, we have awareness, consideration, preference, action, loyalty, and advocacy. So in the old way, with TV, radio, and so on, there were direct mails and brochures, product tests, in-store purchases, and reward points. With the new system, you have searches, blogs, online research, user reviews, social networks, YouTube. There are group discounts. There are Facebook or Twitter emails or customized upselling. And there are reviews, likes, social buzz, and so on. So it's a very different environment comparing to the old marketing systems. We're going to talk a little bit about Chanel. Chanel's ready-to-wear collection show in Paris in 2015 was actually an incredible story. It was their spring-summer 2015 collection that was shown at Paris Fashion Week. And it was a completely different type of show. So that actually contained those 4 stages of a story: awareness, interest, desire, and action. So in the awareness part, Chanel made their fashion-forward consumers aware of the Chanel shows, and their ready-to-wear collection was going to be at the Paris Fashion Week. So it kind of created the awareness among the customers about the show, about the ready-to-wear fashion show. In the second step, they created the interest. So when they did the show, all the models carried placards, took to a street-themed runway, and had this like full feminist protest type show while they were displaying spring-summer collection. And of course, they were creating this interest about the show because it wasn't just about the clothing now, it was about demanding society to raise the bar on women's equality, a little bit of feminism, and so on. So they created a social story with a lot of impressions online in social media sites. It was actually a really big hit. At stage 3, this was desire. Of course, viewer engagement was amplified by influencers sharing the content through their messages, and then the women's equality, part of the show. And it spread through word of mouth across all social media platforms. And there was a powerful visual content of models marching down the street. And then at stage 4, there is the action. So the power of social stories lies in its potential to become personal to audiences. So when the readers can identify with the story's context, and it influences them to share it or to purchase it or even just to support the brand, that is an action. So Chanel captured attention of audiences early in the marketing funnel journey and really tapped into one of the most effective ways of spreading positive word of mouth. There are some examples of fashion brands like Nike, Burberry, Dior. They do create really powerful stories. If you look at their websites on Instagram, I'm going to share some of those. You can see that here they're showing quality and lifestyle, so it's an effective message. Three companies got together to conduct research on how effective advertisements are in a sequence approach. And these companies were, one of them was Adaptly. It's a social media advertising technology company. The second one was Facebook, and an independent style website called Refinery 29. So those three companies got together and conducted the research. And the research title was The Power of Storytelling, Taking a Sequenced Approach to Digital Marketing. So basically, in phase 1, it says you meet the brand, educate the consumer on the brand, to share their values without any push or call to action. This is the beginning of the story to draw in customers or potential customers. Phase 2 is the teaser. Now that you introduce the brand, the next phase is to share what the brand can do for the customers. And phase 3 is the hook. This is the final stage that clearly demonstrates to the customer the call to action to the story or sequence they have followed. So to deliver a strong marketing message, know the brand's audience, listen to them first, read their comments, understand what they want. To develop the framework, develop a storyboard with a clear plan and a structured message. Your story should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. 3, connect the trigger points to the emotional bond of the audience. 4, create an authentic narrative and personalize, humanize your brand. 5, establish a consistent message through all social channels. 6, develop contextual relevancy to customers. So the customers should be able to relate to it and connect to the story. And then create empowerment through inspiration and gain knowledge. The next step is promote the shareability of user-generated content and drive engagement through the story. So those are what you should focus on when you're creating stories. And I want to give you guys another tip. This is a quote by Maya Angelou. She said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So the feelings that you create in people with the story is going to be what is memorable. And again, we said the measurable values of a story is going to be how memorable it is and how it influences the reader. Okay, so I will stop here. We'll continue with storytelling in our next class.